Okay, welcome to the webinar. This is how to take your app idea from your head to the App Store in 10 steps. And you've got Gabe Quachi and Greg Lee Clan here from Incipia. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Hop this into presentation mode. So Incipia is a full-service mobile apps company, and by that we mean that we help companies and entrepreneurs do everything to get their app into the App Store and beyond. So that includes concept and ideation. You're sitting down and figuring out what your idea is, what it is that you want to build into an app, what features and functionality. Doing research on things like user stories and feature lists, which we'll cover in this presentation. And then we help companies and entrepreneurs also design their apps. So that's branding, that includes UI, UX design, which we'll cover in this presentation as well. Everything that's the visual or the blueprint of your app. And of course, we also help with development. So we do development for apps, and we'll do everything to develop a prototype, get an MVP, test your app, make sure that it works properly, and then launch it and deploy it to the App Store. As well as, after it's in the App Store, add features and functionality, provide maintenance, squash bugs, and add SDKs and other things to help your app really succeed. And then lastly, we'll help companies with marketing too. So it's not enough these days to design, build an app, and get into the App Store. You really need to make sure that users are able to find your app and they're able to see the value from it and download it, and that you're growing your app's user base over time. And here are some examples of companies that we've worked with, companies and apps, across both development and marketing. So, getting into the 10 steps to take your idea into the App Store. So, the typical app team is one thing that we want to spend some time explaining at the outset. So, there are several roles in the app team, externally and internally from our company. And the most important person is, number one, the product owner, the visioneer. That's you. You come to us with an idea, you come to us with a vision for a product that you want to create, to bring into the world, to bring to market, and you're the person who's steering the ship. We're the experts and the people that are creating your vision into a tangible form, but you're the person who's going to help us understand what it is you want to build. Then there's also the designer. So there will be a lead designer who helps actually take the ideas that we build and we take from your head and turn them into the UX, UI designs, the branding. Then there's developers. There's both front-end and back-end developers, and there could be more developers depending on whether your product needs to exist across the web, Android and iOS, and whether it needs a custom back-end or a back-end service like Firebase. And there's also usually a project manager. For larger projects, a project manager helps to keep everybody on track. They wrangle the deadlines, excuse me, they make sure that everybody knows what's happening across the project. They're just the ace communicators so that nothing is dropped, everything is moving along in a positive direction. Then we've got a quality assurance tester, QA. That's the person who's going to make sure that the code that's being written is working properly, that there are no bugs or anything found, that everything is ship-shape and ready to go before launching to the App Store. And we'll talk about why it's important to have a QA tester and a QA process in the coming slides. Then there's also a marketer, or ASO, App Store Optimization Extraordinaire. That's the person or people that are going to help get the word out about your app, from Facebook to Google to Apple to organic keyword searches on the Play Store and the App Store, to programmatic and display, to email and beyond. There's a lot of channels that you can take and use to get the word out and drive marketing awareness for your app. And having somebody who's experienced in mobile marketing can help you make the right choices and spend your budget or your time effectively. And then last year is a sound engineer, which is sort of like another designer, but for the auditory, for sound for an app. It definitely can't hurt, and it can help your app, help imbue your app with a bit of polish when there's sound effects when people are using it. If it's a game, there's a nice soundtrack going on in the background. It's a piece of polish that can produce a better sense of the app in your users' minds. So getting down to the 10 steps. First step is research and brainstorming. So your idea is probably pretty good. You spent some time looking into this. You may have been thinking about this for weeks or months or years even. And you've got the vision, you understand what it is you want to bring to life. But don't discount doing research and trying to find competition and talking to users and just gathering more information. You don't know what you don't know, yet what you don't know probably can hurt your chances of success. So don't discount knowledge that can be gained from doing a little bit more research, a little bit more investigation of your idea. And there's no such thing as really a competition-less idea. The horse was the competitor to the car. MySpace was Facebook's competitor. The Hyperloop competes with the BART. There are lots and lots of ways that people and users can do whatever it is that you want the main use case of your app to be right now. There is competition. It may not align perfectly with your vision for the app, but there is competition that you will be entering into market with and positioning your idea around. So make sure that you're understanding what options users today have to accomplish whatever it is that you want your idea to do. And that can help you be better prepared. And you may even find something that you didn't think about in your idea. However, if a competitor has an idea, then it could be good to learn from them. The cards are already on the table. You know what they do and what value they bring to users. And so you can match that value and make sure that you're doing an even better job at conveying that value to the users. So the last thing we want to say about the competition before reviewing these steps is that you don't want to be a copycat. You don't want to take an idea that exists in the market today and tweak something very small about it. You really want to try to find original ideas because those are going to be more interesting for users, for investors, for people that are working with you, for your app team. Those are going to be things that really ring true to what it is that you want to do rather than trying to copy or take something that already exists and make it a little better in pursuit of success. Yes, there are many copycats that do succeed. They do get into the top charts. They make a lot of money. The Samwer brothers from Germany are some of the most famous copycats. But by and large, being a copycat is really not going to be a way to succeed. Try to identify original ideas that solve problems that you know about or that you have experience with. So you can follow these 3 steps for doing research. First, find 3 competitors. At least one is necessary, but try to find more competitors and more services or products that do at least some of what your app purports to do. Learn about them. Try their services. Ask users about them. Understand what value they provide and what gaps they have. And you can do that by matrixing their features. I'm going to show you in the next slide what this looks like, but you want to break out all the features that your idea has versus your competitors and understand where the commonalities are and where the gaps are. And that'll help you make a better decision on determining what you want your product to do or be. And lastly, get feedback from users and talk to them about your idea and talk to them about your competition. Validate that the assumptions that you have about your app idea are valuable from the people who are going to be using your app. Look at the differentiators that you're touting your app as having and make sure that your users value those and that they're going to be enough to move users from the competition to your app. So here's an example of a competitive matrix. So your app idea. You can invite friends. It can be used with multiple devices, and users of the app can also add ads to their data and their content to make money. So it's a revenue generation stream for both you and your users. And you're thinking that users being able to make money from your app is going to be your differentiator. So you can see that all the apps in the market have the ability to invite friends. A couple of them can actually upload videos, and that's something that is a gap for your idea. And many of them can also be used with multiple devices. So here you want to understand whether your gap of uploading videos is important or not. If it is very important and users will not switch to your app unless you have the ability to upload videos, you may want to consider including it. And then again, you want to make sure that your differentiator, users being able to make money from this app, is going to be enough to get them to try your app and leave the competitors A, B, and C. So step number 2 is documentation. So you're going to have a lot of ideas flowing around. You have a lot of ideas that will come from discussions with users and looking at the competition. But all of that is not going to really help us, the development team, the app team, unless you can convey it to us, unless you can get that information to us. So make sure that you're capturing all this stuff down in text, and we'll explain next visual form. You can start with a feature list. Make a list of the things, features, and functionality that you want your app to include. Turn it into a bulleted list so that you can convey it over to us, the shop. A bulleted list is very easy to consume, and it's very easy to create. You just sit there and think about all the unique features and functionality that you want to be present in your app. And then you want to imagine 3 user stories, or user stories for each of your main features. A use case and a user story, there are a little bit of a difference here. A use case is you imagining a user who is going to be using multiple features of your app. So it's somebody who is 22 in their senior year of college. They are looking to go into the field of business. They're looking to use your app to do X. A user story is going to be for each of the main features and functionality, an example of how that user uses that. So signing up is one of the features, and a user can sign up with email and password. That's a user story. But that would be part of the larger use case of Brett, who is this college senior who's signing up for the app because he wants to be able to connect with people in the alumni network after he graduates. So getting a little more detailed is what happens when we move from user stories or use cases and features to business requirements. Business requirements are detailed refinements of exactly how features will work. And yeah, that's where we're really going to understand how much work is going to be involved in bringing your idea to life. Business requirements are something that your mobile experts, us, can help you with, but it's going to be a necessary step before we can really understand how much time would be involved and how much building your app may cost. So a business requirement would be signing up with email and password. The feature list could be signing up. Business requirement could also be signing up with Facebook. It could be signing up with Twitter integration. So it's really a must that you have a feature list and some user stories, use cases before coming to a shop, because that's really going to help us understand what it is you're looking to build. And we can help you build the business requirements. So getting all your ideas down on paper or digital pen, as it may be, can not only help you convey your ideas to the app experts, but it can also help you identify things that maybe have been tumbling around in your head that you forgot when you're building out your ideas. Getting down and writing things and doing things and transferring what's in your head into paper can really help you make sure that everything is there and nothing is missing. So here's a sample feature list. A user can log into his or her account. They can upload a profile image. They can share recipes, and they can browse and search for recipes. Here's some examples of user stories. So users can use the application to find new restaurants, and they can give it permission to access location. Location is used to identify restaurants. And here are a couple other user stories as well. There's a user that is going through an onboarding process to be able to know how to use the app, and that the app lets them select favorite food types. There's a user who can upload resumes, and they can do that from signing into Dropbox to pull the resume. And here are some business requirements, so the refinement of features and use cases into specifics. Users can create and log into an account that saves their data, which is images and text. And this includes a recipe title, recipe steps, description of the recipe, photos of the recipe, tags. You can go even a step further and say that the title is so many spaces, character spaces long. The description is so many characters long. name out the types of tags that can be used. But this is an example of a few business requirements.
So step 3 is to actually start trying to picture what the app might look like. And a good first approach would be to draw some simple user interfaces that honor the idea. This may not feel like it fits for everyone as a step that should be taken to get an app into the App Store, but what really the real benefits of doing it are that the product owner who would be drawing an interface they become more acclimated with their idea, and it'll reveal maybe certain user flows or scenarios that weren't as thought out as the product owner thought they were. So other good things that come out of drawing before talking to a designer from the product owner is that the designer and the developers will appreciate it in the sense that they have a direction to work with, and it's a lot easier. It's kind of like speaking their language a little bit too. So they'll know more about what you're thinking as opposed to trying to translate your thoughts and words into some kind of visual. And it's also good to keep in mind that the designers will end up redoing these drawings, and that's completely okay. So it's not something that if the drawings aren't great or if they feel kind of sloppy, that's completely all right. The point is really just to convey your idea. So the wireframes are the next logical step, and these will be done from the professional designer who the product owner hires. So wireframes are what a UX designer will do with the user stories and the sketches and feature list. It's basically a designer's first take on how the flow of the entire app will work. It's essentially the skeleton or the blueprint of the flow. They're not supposed to include colors or styling, so we've worked with some people who have kind of assumed that those things wouldn't be included in wireframes, and it can kind of be a waste of time to talk about things that are too detailed at this stage. They're really only meant to represent the way that the user can just navigate around the app and the bare bones of each screen. So it usually works best if a professional is the one to come up with them, because these wireframes end up being translated into high-resolution mockups. And even if they kind of look maybe not as satisfying to the client, it's the high resolution that comes out of wireframes can look a lot different and be a lot cooler and more pleasing, and it's something that we're going to show you in the next slide. But it's a good reason for the professional to do the wireframe. So kind of, in some sense, might seem a little contradictory because the last slide says that the product owner should draw kind of what they're thinking, but even though the wireframes are very similar in the sense that it's just kind of bare bones, it's definitely important that a professional does these because it's the step directly before the final look of the app gets created. Also, this step is inherently just important not to rush, because after deciding on wireframes and creating high-resolution mockups, changing certain things in the app will become pretty difficult to do. So this is definitely something that a lot of thought should go into, and a good amount of time should be spent doing it. Okay, so this is a sample of a high-resolution mockup, and believe it or not, it actually is a high resolution of the wireframes on the previous slide. You can see how much different it looks in some ways. Like in the previous slide, the list of projects was sort of this linear vertical scrolling list of clients and information on each row to represent the projects too. But in the high res, it's a grid instead, and that's something that could change to a different thing too. But the wireframes are actually still being honored regardless of the layout of the scrollable region. The point is that the information being displayed is identical to what is on the previous slide. So this part also ties more into the branding and the colors and fonts that are used for the app. This is where they would get represented and talked about and tweaked and everything like that. So, and good designers will they'll be really intentional about what colors they use for various functions in the app. For example, and I'm sure you're used to seeing this, delete buttons are red. Buttons that kind of are associated with adding something might be green, or blue if it's kind of a call to action color. So at the end of the day, it is very smart to have a professional be the one to create the high resolution mockups. We've worked with a lot of people who have been tempted to take care of this step on their own as someone who isn't experienced in this area, and we know it's tempting for people sometimes, but our best advice is that users will pick up on it. Users are used to using apps that are created by professionals who have been doing this for a long time, so even if it may not seem like there's a big difference between doing it yourself and hiring a professional, we strongly encourage people to hire a professional to do the high resolution mockups as well as the wireframes. And another interesting thing to note about the high-res mockups is that they hold independent value, and they can be used to show investors what the app will look like, and even sometimes what it'll feel like too. And we can talk more about how that works in the next slide. But if development doesn't necessarily start right away, or it's delayed for some reason, these are still really valuable because you kind of have like what looks like a finished product done in your hands, and you can use it to have productive conversations with people about it. So developing a prototype is the next logical step after creating high-resolution mockups, and it's basically supposed to be the most basic form of the app, and it's only supposed to satisfy the core functionality. It's kind of okay to, well, yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind that a prototype isn't really meant to be completely bulletproof either. If there are obscure workflows in the app that don't behave perfectly, it's okay to move on and to finish and to have the developers complete features that need to be there to know if the idea is good or not, or if it resonates the way with users that the visioneer is intending for it to. On the same note, it's important that the level of polish demonstrated by a prototype should be pretty intentional too. That could mean that little details in the UI, like animations or transitions, aren't implemented in the prototype because it's viewed as too much polish to make it into the prototype phase. Or it could mean spending a little bit of time on some things that feel like polish but maybe really drive a point home to a user. Like it could be a transition or navigating too. If it's important that the user feels like they're going to a certain screen and coming back to another screen, and the transition between the two really helps them not feel lost, then that could be an important thing to include in the prototype.
So QA testing is the last step in the development, and that's really want to make sure that you have someone in dedicated time to making sure that the app works properly. After you have a prototype where all the core functionality is there, you want to go through all those UX flows, all those things that the app should do, going back to business requirements and feature lists, and make sure that they work properly. When developing an app, there is a lot of code that is written. There are a lot of things and interconnected moving pieces of the app. And so sometimes something needs a little more development or a little more attention in order to make sure that it works 100% properly. And so the QA phase, step 7, is going to make sure that your app is polished, that it works right, and that there's no bugs or anything when your app goes to market. Bugs are the #1 cause of low ratings, 1 and 2 star reviews. So don't skip this step. Making sure the app works as best it can before launching into the market is very important. You also want to make sure that not just the UX flows work, but the UI is working as well. You want to make sure the transitions, the animations, the buttons, everything works and everything looks and feels good. So you also want to make sure that you're not just testing it once, one run through, but you want to use it for several days. You want to make sure that you're using it as your actual users would be over time. And if the app crashes, one of the most important things of QA testing is to document the steps that lead to the crash. So that's making sure that you jot down what you were doing that caused the crash, what happened leading up to the crash, what button did you tap, what information did you input, and getting that information is going to be really important for the developer to be able to fix the bugs.
And we mentioned implementing SDKs, I think in one of the earlier slides, and there are SDKs out there that will actually help a lot with QA testing, such that they'll record the screen and they'll be able to send a video to whoever's interested of what the app was doing, let's say 10 seconds up to the crash. So that's a really good example of adding on an SDK at some point that would really help with this stage.
And for those of you who are unaware, SDK stands for Software Development Kit. It's a little tool that is integrated or added into the code, the app, that provides you with some functionality. It's a bit similar with websites where, say, Google Analytics is some code that's added into a website source code that lets you track what happens when people use your website. It's sort of similar with apps, but it does require an actual step of a little more development to add the SDK in. So the last step in the development here is going to be fixing bugs and preparing to deploy. So this is making sure that all the documented bugs from the previous stage, all the information that you gathered while testing and making sure the app works properly, is fed back into the development cycle so that all those bugs, those issues, those last-minute tweaks are fixed and taken care of before you submit the app to the App Store or Play Store. Preparing to deploy involves a few steps in getting the actual code from the tool that's being used to develop the code into the App Store, into your App Store account or your Play Store account. And your development agency, your mobile experts, us, can help you do the deploy and the preparation for that. So step 9 is going to be investing in marketing. Again, building an app, even a very quality app these days, and launching it is not going to help your app succeed, except for a very small number of cases. Marketing your app, getting the word out there, making attractive screenshots, title, description, so that people understand what your app is. Those are going to be invaluable in getting people to download your app. And there's also things that can happen in marketing to keep users in your app. So marketing is a very important step that shouldn't be skipped, especially if you're investing a lot of time and money into building your app. You want to draw an ROI. So 1 month before doing before launching your app, you will want to create a splash page, a web page that contains some text, images, and maybe a video explaining what your app is. And in that splash page, you can also use a tool like MailChimp to capture email addresses so that you can have people on hand that basically can turn into guaranteed users. When your app launches, they've already raised their hand by giving you the email address to say, I want to know when this app is live so that I can download it. You also want to set up a social profile or two. And in our blog, we have a 2-part series on how to market an app on a limited budget. In part 2, we detail tips and tricks for different channels in marketing. But in part 1, we lay out a bunch of tenets that are important to keep in mind for marketing. One of those tenets and one of the recommendations from part 2 is that you don't want to overwhelm yourself. Don't try to take on too many marketing efforts at once, because you'll spread yourself too thin or your resources too thin to have a really good effect in any one of them. So don't create a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a Pinterest account, an Instagram account, a Tumblr account, Don't do all that stuff unless you have the time and resources to manage them. For apps, Instagram is a very good social channel to set up, and Twitter is as well. Twitter and Instagram are different from Facebook, say, in that they enable you to go out and follow people. They enable you to engage back with your users rather than just pushing content to people who are following you. So that's usually going to be a very good channel for helping to build interest in your app, in your brand, and what it is you're creating. Also, if you can, if you have connections in publications or you have a really good story, a really good pitch, try to get PR attention. This is going out and talking to the publications such as, of course, everybody knows TechCrunch, VentureBeat, but even smaller publications too. Websites that are maybe more local in scope, local news publications or magazines. Try to get PR attention that will cover your launch when your app is live. And when you're doing that, explain what's unique about your app. Explain what's unique versus all the competition, all the other apps out there. There are more than 2 million apps in the App Store right now, and these publications are covering a lot of apps and they're getting a lot of inquiries. So if you can make your app unique, interesting, engaging, then that's going to help your chances of getting PR attention. Lastly, 1 month before, you want to start to do some research on what keywords people are going to be searching that are relevant to your app. And this is App Store optimization. So this is going out there and using a tool like Mobile Action, App Tweak to find keywords that people are searching and make sure that you're finding keywords that are popular that you think would make sense for your app. So for a recipes app, that could be recipes, food, could be lessons, could be other words that are related to people that are looking for recipes. You can also do a search in the App Store or Play Store and see autofill results. So if you type recipes, what are other popular searches and keywords that people use that are related to that? Apple has related keywords too, related searches that are not direct autofill results, but other keywords that people are using to search for similar apps. So that's all before launching. About a 1 month before, you want to start to do those things. And on launch, you want to expand the content available on your web page, your splash page. You want to make sure that you provide a link to download your app on the Play Store and the App Store, or wherever it is available. You also want to send an email to the people who have signed up saying our app is live now. You can find it, and here's a link. Also, one of the easiest ways to give your app the best launch buzz is to have your friends and family download your app and also write a review for it. Reviews are very important for keyword rankings, for getting your app to show up higher in keyword results. And so one of the easiest ways to get more reviews is to ask people in your network to give your app a try and to write a review for it. So 10 is launch. So here's the ready for sale, the your app is live in the App Store message that we got from iTunes for an iMessage app that we created. So that is it. That are the 10 steps to keep in mind for getting your app into the App Store. Thank you for joining us today. We'll probably do another video or webinar sometime soon to explain some of the things that you want to think about and keep in mind after your app is launched. But today, that's all we'll get to and cover. Feel free to subscribe to your YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. We're very active on Twitter. Sign up for our email list. We send out a weekly digest of posts that we've written and news across the industry. And send us an email to hello@incipia.co if you have any questions or topic requests or you'd like to talk about doing an app. Thanks.